Sevilla is the heart and soul of Spain. You will find in Sevilla all that a traveler can hope for. Pedestrian shopping streets and quiet alleys, flower-scented gardens, an ancient palace, an immense cathedral, hundreds of historic sites, 3,000 years of conflict and peace, thrilling evening entertainment, excellent museums, great food and drink, especially the tapas, and rewarding nearby attractions. The list goes on until you run out of time. Sevilla's city center is divided in various parts. There's Macarena in the north, El Arenal on the west side, the central shopping zone, and most exciting of all, Santa Cruz with the narrow pedestrian streets and lots of shopping and eating. There are other districts or barrio in the city. After all, Sevilla is the fourth largest city in Spain with a metropolitan population of about 1.5 million. But for the visitor, that central area is your main destination. Sevilla's historic center is quite large, about a mile wide by a mile and a half long, and riddled with countless little alleys and important landmarks. You can discover it on foot if you are selective and seek out the particular attractions that most appeal to your interests. We suggest here an organized plan for doing just that, but it's sometimes better to push the plan aside and just wander. Certain neighborhoods, especially Santa Cruz, are perfect for the aimless stroll, and the downtown pedestrian zone of Sevilla is a shopper's paradise. We'll show you more of this downtown shopping area in another segment. For now, we'll focus more on the Old Town. More visitors flock to Spain than to any other nation in the world except France because it has so many wonderful places to enjoy. Among its many attractions, the Golden City of Sevilla, in the heart of southern Spain in Andalusia, ranks as one of the country's top destinations for the sheer beauty and pleasure it offers. 3,000 years of civilization produced a rich concentration of historic landmarks and fascinating neighborhoods which can be easily explored on foot in the city center. Here we show a big walking route. It's a couple of miles. It'll take you right through the center, including the shopping areas, Cathedral, Alcazar, and the old quarter of Santa Cruz, where we're going to focus our attention for this segment. So let's take a little walking tour in Santa Cruz. An excellent central location to start the first walking tour is between the Cathedral and Alcazar Palace in the Plaza del Triunfo. Many of the town's main attractions can be easily reached from this central space, making it convenient for you to pick a direction, any direction, and go. But with such an abundance of choices, it can be a little tricky to decide where best to begin. Which way to turn depends on your priorities and the time of day, but no matter, there will be time in the next few days to fit everything in. Walking is always the best way to see a place, and especially when it's so pedestrian friendly like Sevilla, with so many lanes that are dedicated just to the pedestrian and other narrow lanes where you have very little traffic. You always want to use that walker's rule of thumb that when you get to an intersection, look around and see which way looks most interesting. That's if you have the time to wander. And it can lead you from one place to the next with great satisfaction. On the other hand, if you're in a hurry, you want to follow a little bit more of a specific plan and stick to it, and perhaps follow a map. Now be advised, many of these little streets in Santa Cruz and the little plazas have been discovered by the tourists, so depending on when you're here, the main lanes might get a little crowded, but there's always the lovely side lanes that you can find for a more peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. So just follow your nose when you're wandering around in Santa Cruz district, and we'll give you some tips here on how to navigate and what to see. Most shops and churches close for siesta from about 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. So you might spend this time on a stroll and those quiet back streets of that picturesque district, Santa Cruz. It was first created as the Jewish quarter nearly 2,000 years ago. You'll probably pass through this picturesque and centrally located square, the Plaza de la Virgen de los Reyes, surrounded by the Cathedral, Archbishop's Palace, and Encarnacion Convent, a monumental fountain in the center. With horse carriages patiently lined up along the edge, it is possible to take a horse and buggy ride for an overview of the sights, with the driver telling you about the highlights as you pass by, or join a walking tour with a local escort. But you can very easily walk the streets of the old town on your own, as we suggest here, and enjoy the sights for yourself. This largely pedestrian barrio is a charming tangle of narrow, crooked lanes lined with beautiful homes from the 17th century, enhanced with delicate iron balconies, potted flowers, wooden shutters, and hidden courtyards. Among Europe's best neighborhoods for strolling, the main part of this warren is only about 6 blocks in each direction, enabling you to wander freely and discover it in a couple of hours. Santa Cruz is so magical you should return in the warm atmosphere of early evening to appreciate the soft lighting and settle into a quaint little tavern for dinner. Once is just not enough for a special district like this, which also has several small hotels that make ideal places to stay. Hidden courtyards, curved lanes, covered passages, and 5-way intersections are some of the fun elements of this pedestrian puzzle of Santa Cruz, which you are now entering. It helps to have a map, which you might want to purchase in one of the souvenir shops. Get a big one if you can find it. Fortunately, all of the streets in the city are very well marked. Nearly every corner has got a street name up on the building, so you can easily see where you are and get your bearings. But it's also fun to just get lost and wander. The main thing is to enjoy each step and keep your eyes open to absorb the beauties all around. The short lane of Santa Marta has a delightful tiny plaza at the end, easily overlooked but worth a quick glimpse. Small pleasures often await down the out-of-the-way alleys if we only take the time to explore and know where to look. Of course, you'll be getting hungry and tempted as you walk around passing these tapas bars. Sevilla is famous for the wonderful foods in the bars, and Bodega Santa Cruz is one of the better ones. According to TripAdvisor, it's number 21 out of nearly 2,000 restaurants in Sevilla. It had, for example, 900 reviews, and 800 of those were either excellent or very good. So you can count on this Bodega Santa Cruz for a real atmospheric bite. You're going to find these tapas bars are very friendly places where everybody is talking to each other, to the bartender, and their protocol is simple. You just point to the food that you want, and it's very inexpensive, typically about €2 for a dish. And the beer or wine to wash it down is equally inexpensive and delicious. On the other hand, some of the more touristic restaurants in the Santa Cruz area might not be so good, so you've got to be careful where you sit down to eat. Walking along, we continue our look at this fascinating neighborhood. Of course, TripAdvisor has lots of information about Sevilla, with sightseeing tips and restaurants and hotels and such. And regarding this Santa Cruz district, they've actually got 2,500 comments and reviews, with 95% of those either excellent or very good, ranking this neighborhood in the top 5 things to do in their list of 360 activities in Sevilla. To summarize what those comments say, as you might expect, similar to what we've said already, it's a maze of tangled lanes with plenty of restaurants of varying quality, including some very good ones if you are careful in your selection. And the shops are fun with decent prices, but geared mostly to the tourists. Shops selling traditional ceramics always seem to be a big hit with the travelers. Come back in the evening for a more quiet and alluring atmosphere, like a film set, a dream for photographers and those who enjoy the views. Bars, bars, and more bars, most of them serving tapas. Barrio Santa Cruz is not only the primary tourist neighborhood of Sevilla, but also has a dramatic history as the former Jewish quarter of the medieval city. Santa Cruz became Sevilla's old Juderia, the Jewish quarter, when Ferdinand III of Castile conquered the city from Muslim rule in the mid-13th century. He concentrated the city's Jewish population at that time, which was second in size only to that of Toledo, into this one single neighborhood. And then in 1492, the Jews were expelled because of the Alhambra decree, which evicted all the Jews from Spain. And so the neighborhood went downhill. In the 18th century, the neighborhood underwent a major process of urban renewal. And so a lot of the buildings that we see here today are from that time period, about 200 to 300 years ago. And in recent decades, it has been transformed into the tourist center that we see now. The Callejón del Agua, an alley parallel to the city walls, was once the route along which water was brought to the Royal Alcazar of Sevilla. It's inevitable that you will run into some lovely street musicians as you walk around. Scattered throughout this neighborhood are several little plazas, including the Plaza de los Venerables, which is full of bars and restaurants. The Plaza de Santa Cruz, the namesake of the neighborhood, once the site of the Iglesia de Santa Cruz, the Church of the Holy Cross, constructed over the ruins of a synagogue and incorporated the floor of that synagogue. Well, during the Napoleonic Wars, the church was demolished and the floor remained as the site of the present plaza. The Murillo Gardens are right next to Santa Cruz, and there are several other small garden plazas within this historic area. When you see all the kids getting out of school walking home with their parents, you realize that Santa Cruz is also a residential area. It's not just for tourists.
Hola!
Many of the upper floors are apartments for locals. And there are some inexpensive backpacker hotels tucked away. After so much walking, it's nice to sit down and relax. We'll see more of Sevilla in other segments.